Hello and welcome back to Gen Con Studio. Why is it called Gen Con Studio? Because chat still hasn't given us a good name for it. We wanted to kind of like have, the game design hour or something like that, but we're not creative and you are, so come on, help us out a little bit. We are here to talk about another game, something that looks, just from me sitting here in front of it, looks really engaging. I have not tried it yet. I'm excited to, so I'm gonna probably come by and demo with you guys at some point.
Oh, that would be awesome.
And I would like to hear more about it. Hopefully you guys are here for that purpose. So do you guys like to introduce yourselves and we'll start talking about it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, I'm Corey. I'm creator of the WitchBorn.
I'm Tim. I help him with the WitchBorn and on sales, marketing, some of the game design, and just overall getting it ready for more distribution and retail.
And then, so you guys are going to kind of basically give me like a rundown of like what is WitchBorn.
Yeah. What makes it different?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So really what the WitchBorn is, it's a blend of all the best things that we like about role-playing and also miniature skirmishes game. And it's all rolled into one big dark fantasy. And it started, there's a little apocalypse about a year or two ago in the game world. And what happened was somebody opened a rift between worlds, and these spirits, demonic spirits that had no bodies, no souls, came into our world and started taking over corpses. They animate these corpses. Nobody knows how this happened, but it might have something to do with her. And we call these creatures the WitchBorn. They come back faster, stronger, smarter than they were in life with all the skills of the person that they've taken over.
Okay.
And what we do is we play small war clans, and you are basically thinking that you might be the last 8 survivors of your race.
Okay.
Because the WitchBorn have just taken over the world. You start off very weak, and you start off playing Enter Perdition, and then there are a whole series of expansion adventures, like the Searchers that we have here on the tabletop here, and they all have different stories, but what makes it interesting is you start out very weak, and it's continuing adventures where your characters continue to level up, improve, get better as they go along, till you get to the point where you can start to do something about the WitchBorn and take the world back. What makes it fun is it's 1 to 6 players, and there are continuing stories that an app does the storytelling for you.
Oh.
And so everybody gets to play. Nobody has to
Prep a bunch and spend
Exactly.
10 hours a week making miniature.
I'm an old
terrain.
game master, and I never got to play. I would spend, 40, 50 hours a week getting ready for the weekend campaign.
I know exactly what you mean.
And I said, how can I play?
Yeah.
And so the app does it perfectly, and it allows you to play same adventures or offshoots of the same adventures, meet all these different continuing characters, level up your guys, improve as you go along, and you just really get to enjoy that.
Cool. So that's a little bit about kind of like the story and the dynamic behind it. But like, what kind of mechanics make it different? What sticks out to you as like something really cool that you may not find in like another game?
So the biggest things for me is the fact that when you start playing, like Corey said, you kind of start off as kind of going from 0 to hero.
Right.
Your war clans might actually start off to where you have guys that are running around in no armor and have clubs because you can't afford anything else.
That's a Saturday morning, yeah.
Yeah, basically just a little traipse to Walmart. But at the end of the day, you end up getting better equipment, better armor. If you're playing dwarves, you can start riding bears into combat. And so you actually start getting a lot of newer skills and newer abilities much quicker. And we could each be playing a Dwarven War Clan, but because my choices are so much different from yours, we could have a totally divergent path of how our dwarven war clans are playing, for an example.
So am I controlling multiple characters?
Yes. So
Okay.
the way the game starts is you actually start off with 8 survivors. So 8 warriors in your
It's
war
almost
clan.
like an adventuring party.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, knowing that some of them are probably going to die along the way. But with all of that said, you're able to max out to 12 warriors,
Okay.
also including mounts and war dogs and other things like that we
Sure.
can talk about a little bit later on. But what it's going to allow you to do is make where, like most RPGs, you level up and it's kind of like you get this skill, you get this much better in attack, you get this new ability.
Right.
You actually have choices when you level up. So you level up and you choose which abilities you want for your war clans based upon maybe equipment that they have that they've had for a long time that they're really good with.
Right.
Using the dwarves as an example, you could actually go more with like
Bear rider.
hammers. Yeah, bear rider, and using hammers, so you take a lot more of the skills that allow you to thump people on the head with hammers much
Sure.
better than most other people have the ability to do.
Yeah,
so.
for sure.
So every time you level up, there are
Yes.
new skills that you can earn, and depending on how you roll and what you do to advance, there are about 200 options of what you can do every time you level up.
Okay.
Some are better than others,
Sure.
obviously, some fit, and so you start to build your war clan almost in these squads, right? These are my melee specialists. These
Right.
are my missile specialists. These are my healers. These are the guys that back up. Here's my mage. Here's all these different characters. So you have to think about building this thing because you're surviving in a very dangerous world. If you get wounded and you die in this game, you're not coming back. You're gonna turn into WitchBorn yourself, and you're gonna turn on your own war clan. You're going to be attacking them, and you have this insatiable hunger that you're going to try and destroy them.
Can I go all medical? Can I just be a clan of medics?
You can try that, but that typically means that someone's going to start just peppering you with arrows all the time.
Okay. Can I be a shield / medic?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
There's absolutely nothing stopping you from making the shield wall medic.
But I assume that you would want to have a little bit of variety because we're still cooperative in this sense, or do war clans get at each other too?
They do.
Yes.
For
Basically,
resources or something? What's the
Yeah.
story element?
So basically, you are in this world, and everybody's just kind of out for themselves now.
Mm-hmm.
And you are so broke and so impoverished at this point that you are just really trying to survive whatever way you can. And so you're all competing for that same little treasure or that same little meal that is going to feed everybody. And so sometimes you got to make the hard choices. And so there's also a morality play in there.
Good.
If players do moral things, they earn more experience points, which we call shadow. The longer the shadow you cast, the
Oh, I like that.
the more honorable you are.
Sure.
And so you have to make these morality choices. Am I going to help this guy and possibly save him, or am I going to screw him over and take it for myself?
So it's a little bit like a medieval Walking Dead meets Secret Hitler.
A little
Yeah,
bit.
that's probably a good analogy for it right
Yeah.
there. You start off, if you choose to ally with the other players, that's entirely on you as a player. There's no
Sure.
mechanical benefit. And at any point you say, no, we're not going to work together anymore. I'm out for myself.
Okay, so
It's
add
also on
risk
you. Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
So this sounds really intriguing. Can you do you have a feature where you can start to eat the witchborn that you kill?
The Witchborn will eat you, but you can't eat the rotting corpses.
Oh, man, I feel like that should be a thing. I feel like we should get some
Story-wise,
antibiotics
you
for that.
could.
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping you.
Right, maybe
Wouldn't
you would-
recommend it.
Yeah. Maybe
You
become,
might get sick.
Yeah, of course. We call them sickborn.
Exactly.
Yeah,
The
there we go.
Sickborn, yeah.
Next expansion. You
Yeah.
guys heard that one's coming out at Essen.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right. So what else you guys want to lay some more on me? What do we got?
Yeah, so the one thing I wanted to point out here, especially looking at the battle map we have out in front of us, obviously it's gorgeously illustrated, all in 2D. However, being also a miniatures hybrid, everything is treated as 3D terrain on the board. So the way that works is, so for example, these pillars that you see in the middle, If a model is standing behind them, they actually get cover from that pillar. So you would treat that as if it was a three-dimensional pillar
Sure.
on the board in order to help determine whether or not a model's in cover. Same thing if you're going up the different ziggurats here, or if you're behind it and fall in the cenote and probably die, because that's a horrible thing to do. But based upon where you're at on the ziggurat will actually give you a level bonus based upon, are you higher than your opponent? Are you on the other side and they can't see you?
So up triangle is up,
Yes.
I'm guessing 8 feet or maybe 8 times 5.
Everything's measured in paces in the
Okay,
game.
so 8 paces.
So 8 paces.
6 paces down.
And
Yes.
we've got these combat rulers that measure paces. They actually happen to be the width of a miniature base.
Oh, good. You're good. Yeah, 1 inch.
And we do these flexible rulers because since we're playing that this is dimensional terrain, if you want to go around the column, you have to curve around the column to measure
Okay.
movement and that kind of stuff. So it blows people's minds at first, and then they're like, oh wow, this is so simple. You don't need a grid or anything. It's just free form. And even the way the turns play out, all 8 of your guys are literally doing whatever you want them to do on the turn. They don't have to move in formation. They don't have to follow a grid system. It's truly like having 8 player characters.
Cool.
Right, so there's nothing stopping you from having one model way over there off
So
of the
we
sand
can-
dunes and one on top of the ziggurat.
Yeah, so we can tack on like XCOM onto the analogy that we were throwing in
Why
there.
not? Let's
Yeah.
throw that on there too.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so, the sets come with some pre-generated rosters, so you can kind of see that. Oh, that's the base. That's the quick start game. Let's do something a little more developed. Sorry. I should have been more prepared. All right.
So
There's
while
lots
he's
of
looking
stuff
for
in the
that,
box,
Yeah.
yes.
So while he's looking through the box for that, because it's a big box.
It is
that's
a
actually
big
gonna be-
box.
It's actually going to be a pretty heavy box.
It's a lot of books.
You have there's other expansions that you were talking about, right?
Right.
And a new one that you're about to put out. Or do you want to talk about the 5 thing?
We'll talk about that at the end.
Okay.
First, we'll get through the.
Did you find it?
I found it.
All right, let's do it.
So these rosters come as PDFs. And the way this works is they're kind of smart PDFs. They'll do the math and some of the behind the scenes stuff for you, but you'll just keystroke in like the weapons and stuff you have. But anybody who's played role-playing games or miniatures games, there's 5 basic stats. It's the equipment you have, and everything that you need. Your skills are listed down here, and this gets updated every game. And if you're doing a really good job of keeping track of the value of everything, it totals up to a war clan value down there.
Ah, okay.
So when you're playing against other people, now you can balance the game so that, let's say you're playing a team that's 100 points better than me. Well, when you get into the app and you make a discovery, maybe WitchBorn are attacking you. Since you're 100 points tougher than me, you might get tougher WitchBorn, or you might get more WitchBorn attacking you than I would. And so,
And the app is doing that, so it doesn't feel like somebody is
Right.
picking on me, just a computer.
right, and
Picking on me.
I can show you an example of the app. The first game, Enter Perdition, is truly just a search game.
Okay.
You're out in the wastelands, and you're just scouring for anything that you can possibly find. And all of a sudden, you see something crazy. You see like this airship, wooden airship flying overhead, and you're like, what's that? How did that happen? It must be magic. It's not making any noise. And the pilot is freaking out up on the deck. He's walking around, and you see him start throwing stuff overboard. And all of a sudden, the airship just takes a nosedive, crashes into the desert, catches on fire. If somehow he flung himself free, he is now WitchBorn roaming the desert now. But you're poor, and you're destitute, and you're thinking, heck, I'm going to go see what he threw out of the ship. Maybe I can go see what that is. So the first game, the first adventure is sort of a search game. And the way the app comes into play on that one, Face ID, is all the encounters are totally random. So I'm going to hit draw, and so if you were making the discovery, then Tim or I would read to you kind of what your character sees and hears, because sometimes there's decisions.
We would act as your GM.
Yeah. So
And
you
so-
need
so-
baseline of 2 people to play.
Yes.
You could play against yourself. You just could cheat and read ahead and read the GM notes, you know? So it's like playing chess by yourself,
Sure.
right? And so, that's a pretty innocuous discovery. Let's see if we can get something.
This is an odd note, but I like the font and the kerning that you guys did on that thing. Like, from the angle that I'm at, I can actually read it. So that's actually a very, very thoughtful little add to that. I don't know if you care. I think you do. But sorry. I saw it from the side. I felt like that was an important note, so deal with it.
Yeah.
Continue.
So, maybe you get this, you think you're going to uncover the airship cargo, and you get this encounter that's called Take Me to the Pilot. And it is actually the airship pilot has turned Witchborn, and he's, all burnt up, and he's crawling across the desert coming after you. And you have to deal with him. And you notice he has this beautiful golden ankh around his neck. And you're like, well, if I can take him out, I can get this ankh, and maybe it's worth something. And of course, it's a magic treasure. But then the GM notes are built right in there of how you have to play it as a GM, and all the stats for the creature are built in there.
I like that was your random, that you made that as the analogy first, like your example. You're like, oh, this is a thing that can happen. And then you hit the random card draw for the random encounter, and it popped that encounter up. I think that's serendipitous.
I cheated. I skipped a couple ahead.
At the same time,
look, it's called magic for a reason. You're not supposed to tell
Exactly.
them you cheated.
At the same time, though, you pointed out something that we like to talk about with the app is a lot of people are worried, especially with tabletop gaming, about how apps are going to take over, and why wouldn't you just make a game that's all app? The app that we created for the game is literally just to eliminate giant decks of cards from the table.
Yeah.
That is all they are.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can see the same process with that with like most of the weave stuff, right?
Yeah.
All they did was remove the necessity of having the cards.
Correct.
And making it easier to track. And you guys, that's great that you're using that same kind of thought process behind it too, because the box is already pretty big.
There's lots of stuff in there. We haven't had a chance to show you everything yet, but there's tons in there. So
including miniatures.
Miniatures as well, yes.
And they're unpainted, yeah. So
Correct.
Yeah, so you can paint those at home, on your off time, to suit your war clan.
Exactly.
And then every war clan has their own book. And so it tells you a little background information on the war clan. It tells you how to build your initial war clan, unique skills, and all the unique equipment that only you can get. And so that makes it quite a bit of fun, because there is more. You could play 50 games and not get everything that you want. That's kind of the goal as the designer, is make it aspirational. Like, what can I build up to?
And on top of that, what is my next play, so that you can't have everything all at once.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
You want to play it again to see these things, and some of the maps and illustrations in this are wonderful.
And I gave you the elves on purpose, because what makes them fun is normally elves are humans with pointy ears, and in this game, as you build them, you might start with a little innate magic as an elf, or if you get really lucky and roll really well in character generation, you can get all kinds of exotic type fae, rather than just a normal humanoid elf. So you can be a pixie or a dryad or a banty or a brownie or a dryad, and very different things. So you can have a very unusual war clan sitting out on that map.
This sounds like it was something that was built for, maybe not with organized play in mind, but with the idea that you could basically pick up your war clan and go play at anybody else's house. And
Yeah,
You're correct.
That's truly the goal. We've got about 20 playtesters that get together, usually on Friday nights, but all different times throughout the year, and different people come. And everybody just brings their favorite war clans, the ones they fall in love with, because you're always advancing. Every game, you're improving. You're getting better. You're getting to that point where you can be, the powerhouse. And but we want people to jump in because some guys can only come once every 3 weeks, and girlfriend can only come over, once a month or whatever, and play. And so everybody needs to feel like they can jump in at any point. Versus like a true role-playing campaign where if somebody from the party doesn't show up, it kind of ruins it for everybody.
Yeah, consistency is the key, right?
Right,
Exactly.
right. And these are shorter one-off games that give you that same, fun of, hey, we conquered the WitchBorn, we kicked butt tonight or whatever, but we played it in a couple hours rather than...
Yeah. And this sounds like it makes a good game to like if you have some sort of longer role playing game that you would normally play. If somebody can't make it that day, okay, well we'll break this one out, and it doesn't matter one way or the other because you can play 1 to 2 games in that same amount of time, but you're not missing out on the actual story because you're not doing it.
Right.
You can even set up like a fantasy football kind of pool where people can like opt into different game nights stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And the second adventure, the expansion adventure called The Pit, is interesting because there is this old paladin garrison called Asylum now, and it's where people go for protection and safety from the Witchborn. It's like the last city on Earth. And the guild, who are, they have taken over the old cathedral in the middle of town, and that is no longer a church. It is now the world's last standing bar.
And it's called Asylum now?
Yeah.
Asylum, and then the bar itself they are now calling The Pit.
Oh, okay.
Because it's kind of caved into the ground.
Sure. No, my mind is making all these things like Asylum Now is a play on Apocalypse Now. And then like The Pit, like I'm assuming the third expansion is called The Pendulum.
It is not.
Well, you can have that. It's all,
I'll take it for free.
Sure,
Thank
have
you.
it.
Exactly. Design notes.
But that is a completely different adventure. Like when we were talking about Enter Perdition, and it's a search game. It's a bar brawl. It's whatever. It's whatever would normally happen to you in a brawl in a bar. You can get drunk. You can meet women, go off with them. You can get into drinking contests, whatever. But it's always going to end in a drunken bar brawl at the end of the night.
Which could start as a food fight, could start because somebody bumped into somebody else. It could be multiple different things that would happen throughout the entire time.
And again, it's not up to you as a DM or a GM to do it because the
app handles it all, and there's hundreds of encounters, and it's never even going to be the same experience. And it's great when you got just some people getting together, and it's like, okay, let's play The Pit tonight, And we're running a lot of demos here at Gen Con. I think the Pit demos have sold out, but we'll squeeze you in if you can make it. And
we'll find ways to make it happen.
Hey, you gotta slide on by.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. So what's next? What are we doing next?
So in the core box, the one thing that we have is 6 base war clans that come with every set that you get with the box. What Corey has with him is the 7th war clan, which is the newest one, the Daughters of Twilight, which are the Dark Fae. So
we had Brahm do the cover for us, and there are autographed copies available. But the Dark Elves just bring that element that everybody wants. Everybody loves Dark Elves, the bad boys. But what makes them different in Enter Perdition is they've kind of been underground for all these years. And they're really not bad, just people mistrust them. They're really not evil. They were serving a great purpose for the world. They're in charge of death and decay and all that stuff, and they realize the Witchborn are on the surface, and we need to do something about them. So they come up to the surface and kind of take over. So the book is actually the longest of all the War Clan books, and like the elves, there's all kinds of really cool dark fae that you can play, from the Slua to the Fetch to the Redcap to the Bogart and the Goblins and the Hobgoblins and
Can I be a hag?
You can. We have the Black Annis.
Yes, you do. And the Kaliak.
Yeah. So
perfect.
You've got all that stuff, But the other thing that makes it interesting is when you create your war clan, you have to decide, are you going to be an enclave? So you're part of the big society, and you have to tithe part of the money that you win every adventure to the enclave, and that gives you advantages because you can get access to rare equipment and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Or do you want to become a renegade and just break ties with them and go try your self out in the surface world? And many disadvantages and advantages to that. One, you get to keep all your money. So.
Sure. Yeah.
But you don't
franchising,
have the protection and benefit of the enclave.
Correct.
So
Now, your war clan, is it also tracked within the app, or
it
it all pen
is
and paper?
It is tracked via PDF.
Right.
So literally, you're gonna pop these up on your computer, and you're gonna, when you initially build your war clan, there's a little button that you hit here, and it says which 8 guys do you want, and you type in, you just hit which 8 guys you want, and you walk away from your computer for 5 minutes, and it pre-populates all the stuff in there.
Okay.
And then as you choose equipment and armor and all that kind of stuff, you just type in what you want, the value of it, and it kind of keeps track of everything for you in the background. So
Then you can
simple
easily,
math.
yeah, you easily print it out, and at that point, you just bring it to your game. You write your notes on it for like, oh, I got this much shadow for knocking out
Sure.
this many people, or
Yeah.
killing this many people, taking out this many WitchBorn. And then from there, you just take that and translate it back into the app.
Cool.
Or into the yeah.
And some people will just bring their laptop to the game.
Yeah.
And they'll just sit on their laptop and they'll do stuff, and it's an honor system if you're doing
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, it all comes down to that in any case.
It always
Whether
does.
you're playing any type of organized play, basically.
Yeah.
Again, you should be here for the experience of the game, not to win it.
Correct.
Always.
Exactly. And then to mention on top of that too, so the Daughters of Twilight makes our 7th war clan. We are actually in the works right now on war clans 8, 9, and 10. So
Of
there's
course.
going to be much more coming out. And Corey, do we want to talk about it?
Yeah, let's go for it, Tim.
So let's start with we'll go smallest to largest. How about that? So the next war clan is actually going to be halflings. So you will actually be able to play halfling war clans that are really good at sneaking around.
Sure.
They actually have a trait called glutton, so they eat a lot of stuff, and that actually gives them different abilities based upon what they eat.
That's fine.
And then they also are really good at just taking stuff from the other players without having to actually go beat them up. They just go up and take things and walk away. So that great sword that you just got the last adventure, they just walk over and go, yeah, it's mine now. You didn't have it equipped, sorry, and they just walk off. And then you go, hey, where's my sword? Well, I took it. Sorry.
Sorry,
happens.
not sorry.
Right.
I gotta survive too,
Exactly.
and I gotta get my 7 meals a day.
And then the next one after that is actually going to be the Wolven. So that is actually going to be, they are not werewolves. They are wolves that have been mutated by the ever-changing mists.
Okay.
And have actually become bipedal and have humanoid style features.
Sure.
So they look like you would think werewolves, but they can't shape change.
Right, okay.
And one of their biggest things is that they are mutants, so they gain different mutations.
Sure.
The first time that they actually outright kill a model, they become blooded, which mutates them again.
Ah.
And so your Wolven can all end up vastly different across the board for
Sure.
how they typically are. Some of them are actually whelps, which they actually end up with deformities. So some of those deformities can be debilitating, such as you're a 4-legger. You cannot use normal weapons. You are still running around like a giant wolf on all fours.
Yeah.
There's also deformities that give you more like a monkey tail, and now you can actually entangle people with it, so they can't break from you in combat, which is a terrifying thought when you have a giant wolf on top
Yeah.
of you.
With a big monkey tail.
Yes. So there's many different things
There's
that can
scorpion
happen with
tail?
them. There is not.
They're more northern.
Yeah, but
Sure.
they do have ram horns and things like that. So
Oh,
they can
wow.
Full out charge into you
And then monkey tail you.
and monkey tail you and do a whole bunch of different stuff to you. The Wolven are definitely one of the different races that we have that most people, when they first play them, they get really freaked out because they see these giant models on the table, and then they're like, oh, well, we can handle them this way. Well, basically what it comes down to is don't fight them one-on-one.
Sure.
Because you will lose. I mean, it's
Sure.
you versus a giant wolf. So
Right.
don't do that. However, use the same tactics that they would use on you against them, and you could actually,
That's
hold
how
your
you get
own.
them down, yeah.
Yes. And then the last one, which is probably the one that we don't have developed up as much right now, is the Jotunkin. So these are people that are actually born with the blood of giants, and they can actually tap into that giant blood.
Sure.
And so if you have blood of a fire giant, you can actually grow in size, get a flaming sword, start chucking fireballs for a few rounds, and then people freak out until your power goes away. So that's a once per game thing that you could do that actually boosts a model. So at that point, you're kind of like, when are they going to pop? What are they going to? When are they going to go big? And then when are they going to freak out on you?
Can we wear them down before they do?
Right, exactly.
And as you know, any kind of game like this, it's all about balance.
Yes.
Yep.
100%.
And so we want anybody to know that when they pick up any one of the 7 existing, or when we get to 10, that it's always going to be fair and equal. You have the same chance. You're always going to have limitations. You're always going to have benefits. But when you go on the battle map, you have the same chance to win if you're an elf or a dwarf or a paladin or a Norn or anything else that you're going to be playing.
Correct.
That's awesome. So, can you quickly just list off the 10 so that people have an idea? Of
Yeah,
what
absolutely. So the first 6 are going to be your dwarves, your elves, your guild, which are the Nezumi rat people. They're kind of ninja scumbag rats. We talked about them a little bit. Then we have the Norn, which are barbarian humans that have some shape-changing abilities.
Okay.
You have the paladins, which are more of a pure human that have a lot of ways to combat the Witchborn. They actually swear oaths to destroy them from the planet. They're also really good on horseback.
Okay.
And then you have the orcs, which are damage, and if it's not quite dead yet, apply more damage.
Yeah.
And then we have Daughters of Twilight, which are out, then followed by Halflings, followed by the Wolven, followed by the Jotunkin.
Okay.
So lots and lots of options.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So what's the room number again that you guys are running demos in? Or where?
We are in Hall B at the tables 19 to 21, red tables. And also we are in booth 1322, kind of under the first 1300 sign. And you can even play free demos in the booth if you're interested.
We have smaller condensed versions of the demo, so you could try like 3 models versus 3 models to see how the mechanics work before you go play the full game.
Okay. And so with those new expansion stuff, you guys have more stuff coming out alongside that too.
Yes.
This game is already, I can feel the breadth of it, like how massive it actually is.
Yes.
And the energy that you guys have put into it. And I always feel that like you can't truly love a game unless when it was being created it had love attached to it, which is
100%.
very important.
Yeah.
So what other aspects are coming out that are, I guess, in the Witchborn universe?
Well, we have the War Mage Diary.
That was the most recent Kickstarter. Was called War Mage Diary, and basically we had a beta version that people have been playing with, but adding spellcasters to the game is a very, very huge element.
Mm-hmm.
And we probably play tested War Mage Diary about 4 to 5 years, and we found out what worked, what didn't work, and then I just went crazy and just started blowing it out. And so it's going to be a leather-bound volume, and it's going to look, the concept behind it is the 5 greatest mages in all of Perdition got together, and they said the only way we're going to be able to defeat the Witchborn is if we can teach more people how to cast spells. And so everything looks like it's handwritten with notes by the 5 greatest mages, and it's going to be a collection of all of the best spells, all the best gear, all the best things that you can create, unique skills that only a mage can do, rituals, all that kind of stuff. It's going to have creatures that they can summon to help fight the Witchborn. And it is just, it's the biggest book that we've done yet.
Yeah. And then the other one that I know you've been alluding to this whole time that you're a little excited about is obviously we've done a lot of role-playing games over the years when we have been working on this game, and a lot of people always come to the booth and like, this feels a lot like could be a darker version of D&D. Mm-hmm. So we have decided that we're actually going to be doing Witchborn 5th edition. So it is going to be a 5th edition compatible Witchborn. So if you are already playing Dungeons and Dragons, you're already playing the most popular role-playing game system out there, you are going to be able to take everything that we're doing with the Witchborn and apply that. So we're actually taking the game and we're adding a lot more of the survival aspect to it, and a little bit more of that grit that you're kind of used to in, I guess, some of your OSR games, if you want to look at them that way.
Yeah,
There's a little bit more of that grit. So it will still feel heroic, but it is definitely going to be very much, especially in the first through 5 levels, like, this is survival.
Yeah.
I don't want to get hit.
Yeah.
I am going to get eaten if I do things wrong.
Of course.
So
I have to think about, if I'm going to kill somebody, are they going to turn into Witchborn, and can I deal with that?
Yeah.
that standard, I guess you want to call it the D&D trope of kicking the door and kill everybody in the room, not such a great idea anymore. I don't recommend it at all.
Yeah.
So it's going to be new classes, new species. So the dwarves are not going to feel like just copy paste from the player's handbook. The dwarves feel totally different. Orcs feel totally different. All the elves will have the different Fey abilities. So if you end up rolling up a Dryad as your character from the start, or you start as an elf and they can progress into a Dryad.
Okay.
So by the end of the game, it's like, no, I am a giant tree person.
Yeah.
So that is an option. There's 65 backgrounds that are unique to the game.
Oh, that's impressive.
Yeah, that will actually feel very much, if you're used to playing Witchborn as it is now, you're actually, those backgrounds will make you feel like, okay, this is a dwarven dragon hunter from the Witchborn. That is his background, even though he may be playing one of the new core classes that come with it. So we're talking new monsters, new mechanics for the dungeon master. Mm-hmm. Everything that you would think about in order to make something that's a totally unique 5e experience.
Right. Well, what I like about that is that it makes it to where, like, you can, if the grit and that less, I want to say, like, bubblegum style of D&D is, like, if you actually want a more consequences-based game, and you also really like the universe and you want to stay within it, this is great for having the long extended campaign, but also, oh, somebody else can't make it? Okay, let's play actual Witchborn. Let's do, and now we can kind of like move back and forth. And maybe, like I would, as a dungeon master, be the person who's like, okay, so we're going to explore, like, you have to make a character that is one of your clansmen in your war clan. And then so when you do that, like, it'll be like a little side thing where those characters from your clans actually have to meet up and go do a thing, etc. I would make it to where it was all, but that's me. I go overboard.
Yeah. So the hit point system is still very similar to what you're used to in Dungeons and Dragons now. However, we also have added in a wound system that basically means that, okay, so you get hit and you lose hit points. Well, now things are starting to become more permanent.
Right.
So like losing hands, losing legs, getting your head caved in, and now you're maybe not as smart as you once were.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things that could happen to you that it could have very dire consequences compared to the standard. I have hit points, therefore hit me with the Cure Light Wound spell, and I'm back in the fight without much of an issue.
Right.
So it's definitely going to have a little bit more of a lasting, permanent effect on your characters, depending upon how much damage you stand there and just soak up and take.
Yeah.
There's true fear of death too. You gotta think about that. And what is cool about that is, as a GM, I like to take everybody like to the brink of death. Like, you think it's going to be hopeless because if there's 8 players or 6 players or whatever, somebody's going to roll a 20, right? Somebody's going to save the day. But how close can you get them, and how scared can you get them?
Yeah, suspense is the thing.
And then
you want to create dread.
And then make them the heroes in the end. And that's really, what I love about GMing.
But the app, how sinister is the app?
The app for the regular game?
Yeah, is it brutal?
It is, the way it's set up is we have currently 3 entry-level adventures that you can play in any order whenever you want. And then we have 3 advanced adventures. And the advanced adventures are very sinister. Yes. The newest release is called Nightfall. And it's actually an expansion for the pit. It uses a big portion of the map that isn't used in the Barroom Brawl. It's the rest of Asylum. Asylum is under siege by a Witchborn army. And you kind of hold the key to saving Asylum from the Witchborn army. There is a lich leading the Witchborn army, and his soul amulet that he keeps part of his soul in is lost somewhere in Asylum. So you're searching Asylum while this war is going on outside, you're starting to find characters from other adventures that you didn't know were Witchborn because they didn't die, obviously.
Sure.
And so they're like the undercover agents, and they're trying to hide the soul amulet and smuggle it out of the city for the witch.
Yeah.
And
So you can't discern necessarily who is Witchborn sometimes?
you cannot necessarily discern that they are Witchborn.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't come back as like your typical vampire or lich where they get suddenly pale skin and fangs. If they, got hit in the chest by an arrow and they put on just like a set of leather armor over it, right?
Yeah.
They're going to come back as Witchborn, again, smarter, faster, stronger, and all that. But if that was the only wound they took that killed them, they're going to look just like they did in life. They have all the memories they had in life. The only difference of it is there's this demonic spirit that's inside of them kind of controlling.
Gotcha.
So
Some are strong enough to fight the spirit, and even though they're Witchborn, still function. Some
On their own.
and some cannot.
It's very, very rare, though, that can happen.
Sure. I mean, of course, it's got to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, this sounds like something that everybody should probably swing by and at least get the demo for, because it does sound like a unique enough game, and I play a lot of games. It sounds like a unique enough game that actually is covering as many bases as you can cover, in the fact that you can play it like D&D if that's your flavor. You can play it like a squad-based game. Like,
Right.
You really merged a lot of genres in a way that is engaging.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna try and swing by and play at some point when I get,
Oh, yeah, of
not
course.
here doing this.
And we'll show you a full game so you can see the breadth of what can happen
Yeah.
during the Witchborn. We got to make sure the stampede happens because that's always hilarious.
Yeah, that is.
I love stampedes. I just love being run over by things. It's yeah.
Or swing by and play the pit tomorrow evening
Yes.
in the big demo hall, 6 to 9. It always gets people laughing because it's all the crazy things that can happen to you in a bar, and people always have a great time.
Yeah. So I think we've got like a little bit more than 10 minutes.
Cool.
Is there anything else you guys want to cover or talk about?
So we talked a little bit about some of the game design. Like I know we were kind of talking about that a little bit about that in the beginning. The balance on this is probably the one thing that's kind of held us back from being able to put out so much more stuff because we want to make
You're
sure
putting out a lot of stuff. Like,
Right.
don't discount all of your energy
Right.
here. This is a lot.
But especially because of the fact that we are merging RPGs and miniature gaming together, right? Like we have to absolutely make certain that like everything feels balanced. Nobody ever wants to come into a game and feel like they're underpowered right off the bat.
Yeah.
Just because they chose what they thought was cool.
Right.
It's okay if it's bad luck, but it's
Yeah.
not okay if
Dice rolls
you
happen.
just don't have a chance.
Right.
Correct. So I that's probably one of the big ones, and then on top of that too, just customization. Like I can't stress that enough in the game. There's so much customization that can happen to the war clans just based upon artifacts you can get throughout the game that
Sure.
you never got before.
Yeah.
You're like, what does this thing do? Let's find out. It's like finding that new shiny button that you just have to push.
Yeah.
And then just again the choices that you have for your war clans, even if they do get war wounded and lose a hand, and you decide I'm going to attach a short sword to this guy's stump, and I'm going to go out there and now I'm going to take 2 weapon fighting abilities because I'm not going to let this get me down. So there's again a total crazy amount of things that can happen throughout the game.
Yeah, the amount of customization, it seems pretty aggressive. Or aggressive is probably not. Pretty inclusive. Like you guys have created a situation where there's a lot of opportunities to play around with some very interesting role play ideas.
And what's the other interesting thing is the community that plays is really big on Facebook, and they'll just email us all the time with questions and stuff, and it's really positive community, and everybody feels like they're part of it, and they want to add on, they want to give their great ideas, and how can we make this better? And as little independent, it's not like, we have to meet this certain deadline and we have to sell this many units. We just want to make sure that everything is great. And I always end all my messages with enjoy, because that's the purpose of the game.
Right.
Is we want you to have fun. We don't want you to go home and feel like you were picked on. We don't want you to feel like you were cheated in any way. We just want you to be there and have that experience and get that near death but win in the end kind of experience out of it.
For sure.
I was gonna say, the thing I think I enjoy the most with the Facebook group is that people are not afraid to share like the most horrible games that happen to them, right? So they'll have games where 3 people will die within like 2 rounds.
Yeah.
And when I say die, as in die, and they're probably coming back as WitchBorn.
Right.
Or like their horse gets scared off and it runs off the map and just leaves them laying face first in the dirt.
Yeah.
And they end up getting trampled by the stampede of horses that come through. And like they write up these big after action reports about basically like, here's how bad I am. Here's how bad everything went for me. And they still enjoy it.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I really enjoy, coming from, especially more of a wargaming background on that side
For
too.
sure.
Where, wargaming is in a lot of ways it's probably the most competitive thing outside of like card gaming that we have in the hobby
Tabletop,
space.
right.
So I mean, it's you versus another person to see who wins. Like you're
Right.
applying axe to face until somebody goes away.
Exactly.
And so, where even though you want to come into that with that attitude sometimes of like, I'm going to do this to win and I'm going to have the perfect combination, stuff's going to go wrong, and you're just going to roll with it and have fun with it regardless.
And this one has a nice element of diplomacy and having to decide how you are going to interact with the other players.
100%.
And finding out, like, can those two complement themselves? Do you build towards a complementary like loadout? I really like that there are so many ways that you could also just do free for all. Like, there's a very good opportunity to experience, to have kind of a familiar experience, but it'd be different every time.
Yeah. Well, another thing to touch on too is we mentioned how a lot of it's free for all and you all play your own war clan. In Enter Perdition, there's actually a version to where there is a game master against everybody else, where he's actually controlling the Nari, which are Witchborn centaurs.
Oh.
So they're out still looking for the treasure, doing everything else, but they're doing it as a collective group, and I am sending wave after wave of Nari in after them in order to try to literally kill my players. So in that case, as a game master, you want the total party kill.
Right.
Because that shadow that you earn from that goes onto your existing war clans.
Ah, okay.
So it has a lot of benefits to it that way.
Okay.
So again, multiple different ways to play the game.
There's team games where it'll be 2 against 2 or 3 against 3, depending on however you want to play.
So again, this goes back almost to the idea of like a fantasy football thing where you could like have a Facebook group of like people, like all your people in the same towns, and then just whoever, like they could have formed alliances, but hey, only 4 people can come to this one or something like that, and it's like I got this one guy and this one guy, and then these 2 that play in the same one who are allied. So like we can have this little kind of thing.
Right.
And the other interesting thing is like we'll have as many as 14, 16 people show up for a game day. And we'll set up 4 tables.
Right.
And we'll have everybody at different levels and different capabilities at different tables, and they'll play an adventure. And a couple hours later, when everybody's done, hey, let's switch up the group and let's all go play something different.
Yeah.
Play a different adventure, because there are 6 different adventures at this point, with in beta testing another 6. It's just, it really keeps things moving and keeps it changing, and it's really fun to get a lot of different people's point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like you guys have done such a good job covering this. Is there anything that we might have left out that you really want people that have maybe yet to come demo? No?
Yeah, I think
the miniatures are Reapers? They're Reaper Bones? That's a big thing.
They're Reaper Bones. We've got a good deal with Reaper. We always say we're miniature agnostic. This actually started off as a Kickstarter with all digital books, and we sold the maps, and that was it. And you bring your own miniatures. And so many people were like, we love the game, but we don't have the miniatures. And
Right.
And so we worked out a great deal with Reaper, and they've been really kind to us. But if you have an orc army that you painted for another game system and you want to bring it into this, there's no rule against it.
Right.
Try and base similarly to us, but other than that, you know, it'll all work. And there's always workarounds, so that works out great.
Probably the biggest conversion you have to make is you have to switch your square bases to round bases. Sorry, that's just the way the game has to operate.
Oh, okay.
So, even with that though, you get some MDF discs and just blue tack it to the bottom of your square bases. If you don't want to completely rebase, you're good to go anyway.
Oh, there you go. That's super easy.
Yeah,
It's just easier, it's fairer for measurements and that kind of stuff, because you get into all those weird movement situations where a square is longer across the diagonal and people kind of visually move, and I went 3 paces, and it's like, well, no, I think you went 4.5 because you went diagonally.
Yeah. That can
And
happen.
round bases just
just makes it easy.
yeah. But yeah, Reaper's been great to us, and we are just continuing to expand, and we really appreciate everybody who's backed us. We met some folks from Europe who are big fans today, playing the game, and it's just slowly spreading.
Awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome. So if you get an opportunity, if you're here at Gen Con, you get an opportunity, definitely go swing by and try out the demo. Play some of the new content that they're about to release that they'll demo for you. And if you're at home, number one, make your way to Gen Con next year. Like, come see everything, because it is an experience by itself.
Oh,
Yes, it
my
is.
gosh.
Number two, it looks like you can go check out their Kickstarter. I'm sure there's the official website that is going to give you a very good rundown of all this, and probably make your mouth water comparatively.
Yeah, the website's really hard to find. It's thewitchborn.com.
Oh man, I'm never gonna find that. No.
Just forewarning everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, it's tough, but yeah, and there are YouTube.com, The Witchborn. There's a lot of videos on there. You can check out Guerrilla Miniatures Games has done a bunch of gameplay videos that have tons and tons of views. So check it out. You can kind of get the taste of it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any last things you wanna say?
Just, you got to check out the game. Like, this is one of those games where you really have to check it out to really get the full experience. We can talk about it all night, but it won't matter until you sit down and play.
We've got 2 guys who drive an hour from Indiana to play every week, and they say, can we play more?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, it's very addictive. You watch these characters grow, you fall in love with them, and when they finally do die, it's heartbreaking.
Well, why don't you go ahead and give yourself like a quick outro so people know who to come see when they go. They know who to ask for
All right.
from any of your other staff.
Absolutely.
So, Corey, I'm going to be mostly running events. We're going to be in the Gen Con hall at the B hall. Tables 19 through 21. We're going to be there all Friday, all Saturday. So come check us out. Even just watch the games. We've had days where people are like ringing it and watching us. And Tim's going to be in the booth.
Yes, so I will actually be in booth 1322. It's pretty much right under the first 1300 side that you see. I believe Crystal Case is right on the other side of us. So if you find the Crystal Case dice, around the corner, we're right there. We're going to have small pocket-sized versions of the game at the booth if you only have a few minutes to try it out to kind of dive into the mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll definitely get you helped out in any way we can, answer any questions that you have. If you want to know more about 5e, we'll have to talk about it a little bit more personally. But we're here to answer any questions that you have on the game.
And we're always on Facebook.com/TheWitchBorn and WitchBorn.com. And if that doesn't work, email cory@witchborn.com.
There you go. Well, Corey, Tim, thank you guys for coming and joining us.
Yes,
and
thank you.
and showing me this wonderful game. I'm Rudy. You can find me at Rudy Woot on all the things. And you can especially find me here at Gen Con walking around checking out really awesome games like this. Come on and do it next time. And did we get another couple of names for possibilities here? Or?
No, so I think we should have you guys brainstorm something before we go.
Let's save that. Let's check into that tomorrow then, because I think we're close. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we'll talk about that tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you guys for coming by the Gen Con studio. Check out some more stuff like this tomorrow. If you're standing in line or you're waiting or you're trying to get that whole Gen Con experience, we have multiple channels for Gen Con that are probably all pretty easy to find on the front page right now. But don't forget to switch between them, and so you can, don't miss out on the opportunity to kind of preview some games like this. Like I said, especially if you're just sitting in a line waiting, why not? But for us, for Tim, for Corey, and for Gen Con Grader, I'm Rudy, and we're going to sign off right now. We'll see you tomorrow.